Ryan Jarrell here for MMA News, and my next guest will be defending his middleweight title at Cage Fury 129, February the 9th, when he takes on Sean Fallon. And of course, it is the Dark Knight himself, Kyle Daukaus, back on the show. Kyle, how you doing, man?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, life has been good for you, man. I see, you just had the addition to the family, your beautiful little girl, Kai. What has life been like for you since, man?
Little boy, Kai, little boy, little
Oh, did
boy.
I say girl?
Yeah, little boy. Yeah.
My
I know it's
fault.
been amazing. It's been amazing. He came 5 weeks early. So he was, I forget what my wife was. But he was in the NICU for about 18, I think it was 18 days. Um, but nothing was wrong with him. Like he had a little bit of like apnea. So when he would breathe, he would like stop breathing occasionally and then like have to like keep like reminding himself like his brain would tell his lungs to just keep breathing and stuff like that. So he had to get a little caffeine shot. After that, they just wanted to kind of monitor him. So he was there for fully about 18 days, and then he came in after that. And it's been great ever since. He sleeps about 6-7 hours a night. My wife nurses him, so she kind of gets up with him in the morning, so I have time to like rest and sleep. So I'm very thankful for that. But yeah, it's pretty crazy to think I am a dad now too. So that's another thing that's pretty wild.
Yeah. My wife and I are still trying for our first. It's funny because like when I was younger, I was so terrified thinking that, I'm going to have a child before I wanted it. And it's harder than you think,
Yeah,
right?
it really is. Yeah, I know from experience because my wife and I tried for 2 years, and he actually we had to do IUI for him to work. But they said that like the second child should be easier. We might not have to go through IUI, so that's a plus sign with that.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's been a long time coming for him to show up. But it's crazy to think that he's already 3 months.
How long did you guys have to try with the IUIs? Did it happen like on the first time? Because I know that's expensive.
Uh no, it was, I believe it was the third time. No. So it was the second because we tried. I believe we tried. Yeah, we held off and tried in January. And then we tried again in February, and she actually had the surgery on my birthday. So technically, she kind of got pregnant on my birthday. So in February, the seed took and the egg took, and everything was good, and then she was pregnant there. So it was the second try that we had.
Okay. Oh, that's so happy
Yeah,
for you, man. Well,
thank
that
you.
must have been terrifying though, like initially, with what was going on with Kai having to, be in the ICU and all that. Like what was that like? From what I hear, people that have kids, you never feel that kind of fear if anything ever happens to like your child, if something, God forbid, was wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it was very stressful. I know I had to be strong for my wife because obviously, the whole situation was heavy on her as well. But yeah, it's very difficult having to leave them. We could have done like a stay at the hospital called like a nesting, and then we could have kind of just hung out. But they said like nobody comes in to change any of the sheets. Like we don't really get taken care of. We're kind of just in a room hanging out all day. So we did decide to go home overnight. So we would wake up in the morning. I would go to the gym. I would get done at the gym probably around 12, and then I would be at the NICU from 12 to 7, and then I would go to the gym at 7, come back, go to sleep, go be there the next morning, and so on and so forth. So I mean, it was a long time. It was a long, very very long 18 days, especially since the nurses kept reminding us they're like, nothing's really wrong with him. He just has time to develop.
Yeah.
Um, it's more tragic seeing the other babies that are very very small and the other families that are in there that are there are really something significantly wrong with the child. Um, so obviously, I'm grateful that my son, kind of just needed time to develop as much as something being like physically wrong with him.
Yeah, no, that's great, man. Sorry
Yeah,
for saying a little girl. I'm a dope.
nah, it's all good,
I saw,
all good.
obviously all the posts you make. Sometimes I go into autopilot and just say stupid stuff, but
Nah,
happy
you're
for you,
good.
man. And your
Thank
your
you.
sleep schedule now is got to be in a good space. You seem very refreshed because we know how important that is for you to, be getting quality sleep leading up to a big fight night.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, sleep is number one. I try to nap when I can. My wife naps as well, and he naps. He doesn't really nap like too much anymore. He kind of sleeps like an hour here, an hour there, but we have a very good like schedule at night. So at nighttime, he has like his last bottle at like 11, and I mean, I'm up at 11 anyway.
Hmm.
And then we go to sleep until about 8 o'clock. I'm up at 8 o'clock. He's up. My wife nurses him at like 5 if he needs to be nursed, and she gives me my sleep because she knows that like I'm kind of working on becoming the only income of the house, so she knows what we had to sacrifice.
And this fight, it seems like it was very recently announced. Did you know though for a while that you were going to be fighting here in February?
Yeah, I knew that that there was word of the fight of a Philly card in February. I thought it was going to be at the Parks Casino, but it's down at the 2300 Arena. I was also kind of told that it was they were looking at like the last week of January, so I expected it to be January like the 27th or something like that. But then I texted the matchmaker just like making sure like what was going on, and he said the first or second week of February we're looking at. So just be ready. And I said, okay, I've known about this fight probably since December of last year, so I've had more than enough time to prepare. But as far as like an opponent, I didn't really get an opponent until probably like 2 or 3 weeks ago. They sent me out about 4 or 5 guys. Everybody kind of said no because people have reason to because the Ultimate Fighter is this year.
Mm.
So obviously middleweights don't want to really take an L or anything like that or get hurt so that they can't be on the show. So I understand where they're coming from there, but I also like, dude, like we just got to fight, guys. Like it's probably easier to fight and win and get called up as opposed to fighting an Ultimate Fighter. But yeah, I had about 4 or 5 guys say no. I was called out last year by Pastershock in December. He wanted to fight me in December. So I said I would more than welcome like to fight him in December, and they told me that they wanted me to fight him next year. I said okay. They gave him the date. He said He just said he only wants to fight in January or March. So I was like, "What the hell is this going on?" Like, all right, like you call me out and then try to call the shots doesn't really make sense. So that didn't work out with him. They offered me a couple other guys. Everybody else said no, and then Sean finally, stepped up and said yes.
And Kyle, I mean, you seem like obviously anyone that follows the sport knows exactly who you are, but you're in a good spot right now where it really seems like you could get your next fight should be in the UFC, right? So, like, did you even consider wanting to go in the Ultimate Fighter? Did that ever go through your head at all?
No, because I feel like it's taken a step back. Plus, I have a kid now, so I don't really want to be away
Yeah.
from him for 8 weeks and my wife for 8 weeks. Plus, I don't think it would like be any. There's nothing beneficial coming out of it. I think I think it's just taking a step back. Like if I go there, fight, I go away for 8 weeks, I fight and I win, then what of it? I win the Ultimate Fighter, and then I have a new contract under the UFC through the Ultimate Fighter. It's not really something that I'm like interested in. I mean, a couple of years ago, I would have said yeah before I got signed, but as of right now, I just think it's kind of stepping back as opposed to kind of getting a short notice call. Like I'd rather take a short notice fight than go in Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah, no, that makes 100% sense to
Yeah.
me. Let's talk about how you won the title. That was all the way back in September, unanimous
Yep.
decision victory over Greg Ellis. Happy with the performance? Like, assess it for me, just looking back at it now.
I mean, it was all right. I think it was all right. I didn't think the fight was, you know, uh, as one sided as the referees made it out to be. I mean, sorry, the judges made it out to be. Like mentally, when I'm in there, I think I lose every single round. Like mentally, I could be winning the whole round, and I'm definitely thinking I'm losing the round somehow. That's just how I am. I'm always asking my coaches, like, did I win that round? But yeah, I mean, I think it was a lot closer than people thought it was. He was very physically strong. I know that. The third round potentially could have been. I could have been stopped in the third round, and then I survived the last 30 seconds or what it was. But I knew going into that fourth round that I didn't want to make it a fifth, and I knew that my coaches were telling me I was up 2-1, so I knew in the fourth round I had to just push the pace and just get him down and just be dominant, and that's what I did. But Greg is very experienced. He's a very good opponent, and like I said before, that fight probably should have been on an undercard in the UFC. I think, just based off of his skill set, he's very good. He's beaten a lot of local guys here in the East Coast, and yeah, I'm happy to get the belt back. I look forward to defending it again. And yeah, February 9th, it'll be just as easy.
Did you feel though like extra pressure? Because obviously we know your goal. You want to get back in the UFC. You had that opportunity, before you won this title here for Cage Wars or Fury. Did you feel that though? Like you're in there, like you can't have any mess ups. You got to get this win. You got to do it decisively to make sure you get back to the big show.
Yeah, I have more stress on myself with these regional scene fights than I do with the UFC fights, honestly. Like, just because, like, if I lose in these regional fights, like, it's going to be, it's like, there's no guarantee of, there's no guarantee in anything at like getting a call up at all. But if I can't win a regional scene fight, like, there's no way they're going to call me for a UFC short notice call up. Like, I mean, maybe they could if, nobody else wanted to take the fight. But if you lose these regional scene fights, it's just not good. That's why you have to be dominant. And I mean, I've been undefeated in the regional scene uh, throughout my whole career. Like I've never lost a regional scene fight. So I don't plan on losing again. And on February 9th, I plan on winning and then being dominant and then hopefully getting the call up, after that.
What's the current situation with your brother right now? I know we spoke, it was a while ago now, about whatever that Twitter account was, the
Yeah.
UFC roster watch, basically saying that he was removed from the pool, but you had followed up and confirmed that, he's still a UFC fighter. What is his
Yeah.
situation, right?
Yeah. So he did actually did get released probably a couple of weeks ago, I think it was. Maybe no. I think it was maybe a month ago, I want to say. I believe, they called him up for a short notice fight in December. He had actually broke his hand in training at the gym, and then they called him for a short notice fight. He said he had hurt his hand, so he needed some time to let it recover and whatnot. And one thing led to another, and then the release just kind of happened. But yeah, as of right now, not really sure what he's going to be doing next. I'm sure he could go to the PFL or Bellator or whatnot. I'm sure they'd be welcome to have him. But yeah, I think he just needs to be healthy. He seems like he gets hurt a lot, outside of the training. So I think he just needs a lot of time to recover and just kind of recover and get better.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's too bad. I didn't realize that he was cut. I didn't see that
Yeah,
notification or
it wasn't
anything.
really. Yeah, it wasn't really like a big release or anything like that. I guess because I got so much buzz off of that roster watch thing a while ago. But yeah, he wasn't released when they announced it. The short notice thing had happened in December, and then he got released probably like a couple weeks after that happened.
But he fully intends to keep fighting with the UFC or another promotion.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, from what we talked about. Yeah, I mean, he doesn't want to go back to being a cop. He doesn't want to get a job. So yeah, I'm pretty sure he's going to just keep fighting. But again, he just needs a little bit of time off just to recover, heal his body up, and he'll be good to go.
So he hasn't been active in your camp to get ready for this title defense?
No, he has. He is. He's in the gym. He's training and stuff like that. But he's not training as intensely as he would if he, were in a fight camp. We have a lot of other guys in the gym that I can work with, and he's there to help me get work always. But yeah, he's not as frequent in the gym as if he were to have a fight camp. But yeah,
gotcha. What would you guess his weight's at today?
Oh man, probably about 245, 250. He's pretty heavy, and I'm not gonna lie, he's pretty heavy. I trained with him today, so he's getting heavy again. But I mean, he's not gonna. I don't think he's going back up to heavyweight. But that time off and healing your body up and whatnot, and just enjoying it and eating, this dude's gonna get bigger. So,
what's your weight at?
Right now, I woke up 208, so I'm a little heavier than I would like to be, obviously. But yeah, should be an easy cut. Shouldn't be too hard. I have my weight cut and all that stuff down to a good science. So I know as long as I am around 203, 204 on Sunday of this week coming, then I'll be good to go.
All right. Yeah, you're almost there.
Yeah.
Stick with the camp theme. You mentioned some other guys that are helping you get ready. Give me those names. Who have you had around you for this particular camp to really spar and get that working with?
Just guys, not really a lot of fighter guys at the gym, but one dude is Matt Turnbull, who is a fighter that we have, really, really good fighter that we have. Lex Ludlow, he's a professional as well, who kind of took some time off. He just kind of joined right back up at the gym. Who else am I working with? Just a lot of the guys at the gym. I have two twin brothers that are the Hill brothers that own a supplement shop here in Philly. They really helped me out a lot, and just a lot of the basic guys. My coach, Will Martinez, he's always in the gym training, he's always helping me out. And yeah, I've gotten some training in with the guys, Joe Pfeiffer and them. I went over there and sparred a couple of times. So those guys too.
Do you remember the name Devin Powell?
Devin Powell. It sounds familiar. Yes.
He fought in the UFC. He fought at 155. He also fought in Bellator. He owns a gym right on it's right on the main New Hampshire border. It'd be a little bit of a drive for you, but they have so many young and upcoming killers at that gym that fight at around 185. It'd be so cool have you ever considered traveling to maybe get some work on the East Coast with some fresh faces?
Yeah, I have actually. I've always wanted to go down to Florida and either train at ATT or train at Killcliff. I've talked with Henry Hoof, and he's more than welcoming to have us come down. But my scheduling just hasn't worked out. I'm either here busy or my brother. I don't really want to go by myself. I'd rather go with like somebody that I know. So I even asked my brother to come with me. He's more than welcome to come with me, but like our scheduling just hasn't worked out the best. But yeah, I'm more than welcome to go train elsewhere and not like train elsewhere, but like get some training in for like a week here and there. I've gone up to Montreal a while ago. I went to Montreal and trained there. That was really
TriStar?
fun. Yeah. I went up to TriStar before my Contender Series fight for like 2 weeks, I think it was, and I trained up there for a while. It was pretty good, but that's like the furthest I've gone to train. But I've always wanted to go down to like Florida to train with those guys.
Was St. Pierre there when you went to TriStar?
Yes, he was. He was there. Mandel was there. Just like everybody, they had a ton of guys there. Faraz was obviously running the classes, so it was great. I have a friend, Zach Makovsky, who used to like pretty much live up there. So he was my kind of link to get up there and hang out and train up there. But yeah,
Very
it was
cool.
very good training.
How important do you think it is, especially for someone at your level, to be getting fresh looks and different, people to spar with? And I know it's a tricky thing because you don't want to spar with the wrong person, right? Because you make one bad mistake and they could, hurt someone if the other person
Yeah,
isn't going as maybe hard as the other person, right? So
yeah. I
what
mean,
is,
going to different going to different gyms, it's always, kind of dangerous in a way because you're not
yeah,
really sure how other guys spar or how other guys, train and whatnot. As far as like grappling and all that stuff, like we can go as hard as we can. Like that's perfectly fine. My biggest thing is sparring. Like I'm not a huge proponent of hard sparring. I'm not a huge fan of it either. Like I don't enjoy hard sparring. Like I'll minimally spar as much as I can. I've recently just been sparring like twice a week for like the last like 2 or 3 weeks. That's about it.
mhm,
Other than that, we do like a little glove training, like a little glove sparring is okay. But I mean, we have there's a ton of guys that go too hard in little glove sparring too.
yeah.
But like guys that go hard consistently in sparring, like obviously coaches say you need it, but like, I mean, I don't really think you do. I think you're just damaging yourself for when you get in the cage. We all know how to fight like once you hit a certain level in this sport, everybody knows how to fight. So it's just a matter of just drilling your drills and making sure you're good and minimizing that damage to get into the fight. But a lot of guys just train like, well, they spar just way too hard and it's pointless and stupid. And if you're knocking each other out, like, I hope I'm fighting you because then it's going to be easy for me to put you away.
Yeah, great points. Speaking of someone that we all know, we've seen videos. He goes very hard at sparring. Sean Strickland. He
Yeah.
lost his belt to Dricus du Plessis recently.
Mhm.
What was your takeaway from that fight? How did you actually score it?
I actually didn't watch it, to be honest. I have not watched a ton of fights ever since it's been a couple of years. I mean, not a couple of years, but I'm to be honest, I'll be petty. Ever since the UFC released me, I haven't really been watching a ton of fights, especially the pay-per-view ones. A lot of the pay-per-view I don't really watch. I'll throw the fights on here and there, but if it's a pay-per-view, I don't really watch it. I'm not really big like fan of watching fights as much as I used to be. I saw like a little bit of highlights of it. I just think that like I don't know. It's really hard to fight Strickland because he's got such a good jab, and du Plessis is really just like a madman in there. Like
Mm.
there's not really. It's just a controlled chaos pretty much. Like the guy is just like a madman as well. But from what I heard and what I for like kind of saw, du Plessis won the fight and it wasn't really like it could have gone either way for a fifth round. But I also heard that Strickland won the fifth round, so it should have gone to him as
Yeah,
well. So yeah,
close fight for sure. I guess
yeah.
one thing just to follow up on Sean, what is your take on his shtick, if that's what you want to call it? I think he's actually being himself. It's not like Colby Covington where he's playing a character, but
Yeah,
he says some pretty outlandish things, man. Like, what is your just overall opinion on that in this sport?
I think it's just kind of the nature nurture kind of thing. That's how the guy's been brought up, and that's kind of how his life is. The kid he had a rough childhood, from what everybody is saying, and like what his backstory shows. And I think that's just the kind of guy that he is. I'm fine with the things that he's saying and whatnot. Like I'm fine, like whatever. Like it's him. He can be who he wants to be and say what he wants to say. Um, as long as he's not saying anything about me, obviously. Like I don't think these guys going out there on the microphone. Like I don't think we should be judged for the things. We're fighters.
Mhm.
Like we're there to fight. We're not really there to talk and say our piece and say like our views on everything. So I think that partially we should kind of keep it to ourselves. But if you do want to come out with the stuff and say all this stuff, like you should be more than welcome to say it and say what you want. But don't be upset when you get a bunch of backlash on stuff that you're saying that's kind of outlandish.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
100%. We're living in a
yeah,
weird world now with like social media and everyone having an opinion.
yes,
It's crazy. It really
it
is.
is.
Let's transition to this upcoming fight, shall we? February the 9th. Again, Cage Fury 129. You're defending the strap against Sean Fallon. He's got 11 submission victories, Kyle. So we know how dangerous this guy is on the ground.
Yeah.
Having said that, do you want to test yourself on the ground with him, or do you feel like this really could stand and trade and be a fight that happens on the feet?
Um, I mean, wherever the fight goes, I know I'm confident in winning and my ability to perform. Um, I know that he's got a lot of experience. I know that he's very well rounded as well. But I do think I have a superior advantage in the striking. I think it might be one of those fights where kind of our jiu-jitsu kind of cancels each other out, and we might have to just strike on the feet. I'm not one to like put out a game plan and say like, oh yeah, I'm going to go out there, take him down, take him. I'm going to put him against the cage, take him down, be able to submit him. He does play bottom very well. Like he's not really a guy who likes to wrestle up too much or likes to fight, off the top. He really is kind of stagnant on the bottom and likes to play bottom, which is also very dangerous in an MMA fight. If he does play bottom with me, I'll have to make him pay for that, and I have to make sure that I'm minding minding myself at all times. But I think it's going to be a fight where kind of the jiu-jitsu cancel out, and that I'll be able to just strike and perform, and show off a bit of striking in my striking ability, and get out there and get the finish.
I know you said you don't like watching a lot of fights right now, but he did just finish Colin Huckbody, who fought at Contender Series. Did you watch that fight? What was your takeaway if you did?
Yeah, I mean, I don't watch like as far as not watching fights, like I don't watch the fights like as far as like a weekend thing. But like if I have an opponent and I know that he has a bunch of fights, like I'm gonna watch him and study him. Yeah, I think, man, that fight was a bit weird to me. It was weird, like that Huckbody really didn't fight too much out of the uh guillotine choke that he was in. He kind of just stayed there and like tried to switch his hips and get different positions instead of fighting his hands. Sean is long and tall like me. So I think, and Huckbody is tall and long like me as well. So I think it was a good vision of, how he fights somebody that's my size. He has a very good, Sean has a very good rubber guard. Huckbody used to be the champ of CFFC. He lost to Aaron Jeffries. So that kind of shows like where he ranks amongst, middleweights and fighters. So I think it's a good fight and a good test. As far as that fight went really quick though. That was only like a minute and
Mhm.
but yeah, the guy's experienced. I know he trains with Corey Anderson. He's Corey Anderson's like main training partner when Corey's in Indiana. Corey actually messaged me because I trained with Corey before, and Corey was like, "I'm just letting you know, like I'm going to be in his corner, like no hard feelings or anything like that." And I was like, he was like, "He's my main training partner when I'm out in Indiana," and I was like, "Dude, like perfectly fine, not a problem at all. This is bound to happen eventually. Like you're bound to fight people that
Mhm.
so." Not a problem at all. That's good as well. So I know he's going to be very good defensively against the cage and whatnot because Corey's a superior wrestler and a very big guy as well. So I figure Sean will be very strong. But yeah, I think it's a very very good matchup, and it puts me. I beat him. I think it shows that I don't really deserve to be on the regional scene anymore, and that I should get that call up.
That was pretty cool of Corey Anderson to message you. I mean, he seems like a
Yeah,
really good guy outside of
yeah.
the whole
He's
fighting world.
he's really a very nice guy. He's very nice. Yeah, he's a good dude as well. As far as training and stuff like that, he's very good. He's very nice as well in the training room.
Yeah. And you mentioned, you think that your jujitsu is going to cancel each other out here. This could be a fight where it showcases your stand-up ability.
Yep.
TKO, KO, what round? What are we thinking for a prediction?
I mean, ideally, I could put him out there in the first or second round. That would be hopes. That would be hope. I really don't want the fight to go 4 rounds or even 5 if there is a fifth. If we're tied into the fourth, then it has to be a fifth round. But I'm going to go out there and perform to the best of my ability that I can. And as long as I'm on that night, I'm getting out of there in the first or second round.
And this fight's going to be in Philly. What is it like to
Yep.
to fight in front of like the home crowd, having everyone there defending your title? It's got to be pretty special for you.
Yeah, it's always good. The Philly guys are always fun. All my buddies are pretty funny as well. But they're those guys that are like kind of part of my language. So they're kind of dickheads in the fans as well. So like they'll yell at the guy and yell at him and be rude if they can be. But it's Philly for you. So if you're going to come here and fight one of us, then you got to be prepared for the fans as well.
MMA fans, dicks? No, come on. We've never
Nah, come
seen
on.
that. Yeah, just take a stroll through Twitter and
Yeah,
read some
right.
of the comments.
These
It's
people are
crazy.
ruthless.
And
Very
again,
ruthless.
last thing, Kyle, you said that you do get this guy out of here. You beat him, defend your title. UFC has to be next. So when would the time frame be? Would you take a short notice fight, or would you like to get if you're going to have another contract here and fight in the big show, you want to get a full camp to make the best version of yourself ready for your return fight to the octagon?
Yeah, well, I mean, 8 weeks after my fight is the Atlantic City card for the UFC. So 8 weeks is how long I have a fight camp. So if all goes well in the ninth, I'll be more than ready to sign a contract and fight in 8 weeks in AC.
I love it, man. Can't wait to see
Thank
you
you.
back in there again, February the 9th. Kyle Daukaus meets Sean Fallon, defending his middleweight title at Cage Fury 129. As always, man, I appreciate the time. Great talking to you. Before we do sign off, I want to give you the floor. Anything you want to plug? Anyone you want to thank? Floor is yours.
Yeah, just thank like everybody that's been supporting me as always. My wife, uh, she's a big rock for me, and I really appreciate her as always. Um, all the guys that are training at the gym, very thankful for everybody I've been sparring with, everybody I've been training with. Everybody knows who they are. Uh, the fitness spot is one of my buddy's gyms that I've been going to just to work out a little bit. The fitness spot in PA. It's Matt Turnbull's gym. Primal Nutrition is another one of my buddies that are the twin brothers that I train with. They run that. Power by Polar, who is Rich Polar, is my strength and conditioning coach. Very thankful for him as well. And yeah, just everybody at the gym. Very thankful for you guys. Great. Can't wait to put on the show on February 9th and prove that I don't deserve to be in the regional scene anymore, and that I need to get signed to a bigger organization after this.